Hi there, my name is Lindsay Perot, and I'm going to take you inside the fractions escape activity. The first thing that I want you to know about this activity is the materials that are required. I will show you. All you will need will be manila folders, one fastening brad, a glue stick, and a pair of scissors. Everything else is optional. Just because you see locks and boxes, it does not mean you need to use locks and boxes. So these materials that you can see are the only ones that you will need to complete this escape in your classroom. Let's take a look at the directions. These are the teacher pages that are included with this and every math escape. You have two detailed pages of contents that show you everything included in the main file. And then you have 4 pages of teacher directions. These directions cover absolutely everything that you would want to know about escapes, so please make sure if it's your first time using one that you read them very carefully. It discusses envelopes and codes, locks and boxes, a bunch of different notes and tips, digital lock directions, recommended materials, and prize ideas. Also, ways to share your math escapes on social media and what to do in your classroom when you're finished. The fractions operation math escape is like all the others in that you will see Common Core standards and TEKS standards at the top of the page, and then each individual puzzle comes with directions for you, so you know what the students are going to be asked to do with that puzzle and how they're going to need to complete it. And there are also going to be the codes written out here. More puzzle information, and then you have a single page with codes on it for an easy reference for you. All right, let's look at the prep. The first thing that you are going to want to prep will be your envelopes. Your envelope labels come printed 2 per page. You have challenges A through H. So all I do is take a paper cutter right down the center. That was not a required material for this, but I highly recommend it. And then you can just glue the challenge labels on the proper envelopes. And this is the easiest way to keep your math escapes organized. I would reuse the envelopes from escape to escape, so you don't have to keep making these every single time. And then I'll show you how to organize the materials when you're finished, since you're not going to be keeping them in these envelopes. Next up for prep, you will have a single page that has the escape challenge on it. You'll use this to get your students hooked. And then this is optional if you don't use the digital lock or physical locks and boxes. This will be your group code sheet. So there's 2 per page. You just slice it in half once again with a paper cutter, and they can use this sheet to keep track of their codes for each puzzle. And if you're not familiar with math escapes, puzzles are not all required. There is not one challenge that leads to the next. So if you have students and who might not be able to do a certain puzzle, or you don't think you're going to have time, all you have to do when you give them their sheet is just simply cross off the ones that you don't want them to do. It's very easy to differentiate with this. All right, individual challenge setup. I think the fear with math escapes and other escape room activities is the fear of the prep. Challenge A in this escape comes with just one single sheet. That's all you need. And you'll see here that I did use colors on this one. And again, you can use the same envelopes over time. So if you always want to have challenge A be a blue color, yellow, green, whatever you choose, you can do that. And the reason I would encourage you to use a little bit of color is because a couple of challenges use puzzle pieces, and if pieces get mixed up and they're all on white paper, it's going to be really difficult for your students to figure out what goes with what. So if you use color, you can even have 8 different packs of colored paper and have a label on each one that says challenge A, B, C, D, and so on. That way, whenever you go to make copies for a certain challenge, you just grab the color paper that you need. So for the fraction operations challenge, all you have to have in your envelope is just the challenge paper itself. And then optional with this challenge and every challenge are hint cards. If you do not want to include the hint cards, you don't have to. You can include them for some students, for all, for none. It's up to you. And these hint cards come in a PDF version, and they also come in an editable PowerPoint version. So if you're not a fan of the way I have the notes written on here, or you wanted to add additional hints, take some hints away, use different vocabulary, you can certainly do that. You can make these hint cards work just for you. So that's challenge A. Challenge B for this particular escape has a little bit of prep. This is a puzzle, and there are two versions included. There is one version that has fractions around the outside and one that does not. So you can use this to differentiate, give one certain puzzle to some students, some to the other, or have all of your students use just one version. Obviously, this one's a little bit easier. And every single prep page has teacher directions on it. So this one just says, cut the puzzle apart and place the pieces in the challenge B envelope. And I try very hard for things that need cutting to use straight lines, so you can just use a paper cutter and get the cutting done as quickly as possible. So for this challenge, we'll have an envelope. It's a lighter color blue. The puzzle, this is going to be the challenge page. And then you would also include in your envelope all of the puzzle pieces, prepped with the same color if you choose, and then the optional hint card. So all of these items, you would just take them like this, flip over your envelope, and slide them in the back. And then you're done with that challenge. Challenge C is also just a single piece of paper. So you'll have your challenge C envelope. You will have your challenge page, and then your optional hint card. One thing that some teachers do, and I think it's a fabulous idea, is laminate these challenge sheets. That way students can work through them with dry erase markers, and then when they're finished, just wipe them off and put them back in the envelope. If you decide to do something like that, you could include a little piece of fabric, or if you have the dry erase markers with the erasers on the back, just include those as part of your envelope. So challenge C is prepped with just a sheet and a half of paper. Next is challenge D. Also only requires a sheet and a half of paper. This is a connecting challenge and your hint card. An optional material for this one could be a ruler if you want to make sure that they draw straight lines when they connect through and they don't accidentally make a mistake and draw a line through a number that they don't need. So this one's connecting, challenge D. Challenge E has one page of prep. This is what it looks like when you print it. This is also your answer key. The teacher prep pages are answer key pages. So don't give them to students and have them cut it up and then put them in there. They might eventually catch on that that's the answer key. So again, I made this in straight lines. So all you have to do is use your paper cutter and cut straight across the page, and you will end up with strips like this. So for this challenge, you have your envelope, your challenge page where students show their work, and then you have your strips. And of course, optional hint card if you choose to use it. So then take everything and put it in the envelope. So it's only been a couple of minutes and there's already that many challenges prepped. And I know I'm not physically cutting them with you here, but if you can imagine how quickly you can slice through with a paper cutter, you can see that you'd be able to get this prepped pretty quickly. Challenge F is solve and find. So these pieces would need to be cut quickly with a paper cutter. There are more cards than correct answers. So if you want to scaffold this for your students, you would only give them the cards with the actual answers. And on this sheet, it's the first 10 cards. So you would have these three, these three, these three, and then this one. So if you don't want it to be extra challenging for your students, then you would just not include these last 5 cards. So once you print those, then your materials for this envelope would be your challenge sheet with the problems that they have to solve, their cards that they'll match up and lay on top, and then the optional hint card. So we have 2 challenges left. Challenge G has 2 pages of prep. One is just a half sheet with a little bit of information for them. So if you have 2 challenges, 2 envelopes, for each challenge, then you've got 2 ready to go here. So you just slice that in half. And then there are matching cards. And once again, this is put together in the correct order. So this is your answer key. There's also an additional answer key included in the file, but just so you know. So you'll cut apart these squares. And this challenge will have your envelope, the challenge paper, all of your cut up pieces, your code helper page, and then your hint card if you choose to use it. All right, last challenge. This one requires the most prep. This challenge uses a decoding wheel. So when you print it, this is what it will look like. It's clearly labeled bottom, middle, top. You'll put it together with one of the fastening brads, and don't line it up any specific way because that's going to be part of your student's job to do. So you'll make this. And then these pieces have a little bit of extra cut to them, but I still tried to line them up to where you can use a paper cutter, and that's how I cut them myself. You can use your paper cutter to go around the outside edges, even through here, and then all you have to do is take scissors. I even stacked them up on top of each other and use the scissors to cut over the lines and got them cut pretty quickly. So for this challenge, you have your envelope, challenge page. You will have your pre-cut puzzle pieces, decoding wheel, and your hint card. So this one has the most prep, but it's pretty engaging for the students too. So I like when they have multiple things to do per challenge. And that's it. So that was the prep required to put together the escape. Now, obviously, there's going to be classroom prep too in terms of getting this set up in your room. The webinar covers different ideas for that. And then if you choose to use locks and boxes, that'll be a little bit of extra prep. So I wanted to show you how I store these when I'm finished with them. So you have all of your envelopes, and like I said, you probably want to use them again. You don't want to have to make envelopes for every single escape because that also becomes a lot to store. So what you can do also is you can run this entire folder, when it's empty of course, through the laminator, and then you just flip it over on the back and take scissors and cut along here, and it'll allow it to be opened up. So not only does that preserve the life of your envelopes, but it makes them able for you could use a dry erase marker on it. So I know teachers that write on the outside the materials that should be inside. So there should be a ruler, challenge page, pencil, and a hint card. And then when you're done, you can just wipe it off. So I would recommend reusing these. So what do you do when you're finished? You empty out every envelope and just stack everything up. And then I store each individual challenge in its own file. So here is the fraction operations escape one. This is what I would do, and I'll explain the tabs in a second. I would have everything in here. This was a version I had already pre-cut. It has keys on it. So, and then you just have everything put in here. Yours would obviously be blank. They wouldn't have writing on it. And everything just goes in together. And then when you want to use this escape in class, since everything's already cut and prepped, just have a student. They can go through, and especially if things are color coded, they can put all of the proper challenge pieces in the correct envelope for you. Or you can take it home and have someone help you at home the weekend before you're going to use it, if you have that available to you. So I keep all of these in envelopes. There's nothing fancy, no cute labels on it, because if you stick these in a bin or a basket where they stick up like this, you can use these tabs and just write on back to school escape, fraction operation escape, 6th grade end of the year escape, however you want to organize, but it makes it super easy. And if you teach multiple grade levels, you can get these in different colors. So if you know, okay, I need a 6th grade escape for next week, you pull a pink one because you know pink is 6th grade. And I even keep, if you have extra rulers, you can even keep a ruler inside if that's one of your materials. You can keep the pencils, 8 pencils in here, however many pencils you need. So you all know these give pretty well. So you have options when it comes to storing. The reason I don't like file folders is because a lot of these have puzzle pieces, so they'll slide out the sides. I don't like binders because then you have to punch holes in your escape pages. And if you don't mind that, that's fine, but it kind of always bothered me to have copies made with holes up the side, but that's just personal preference. So the only thing I didn't show you is that there is an optional student booklet for this. You copy front to back. Every student would have their own booklet. It would take 4 pages of paper per student. But you could also get help assembling those, make the copies. There's nothing on there that gives anything away, so students could have their pages and then fold them in half themselves. You could help them, or they could help you, assemble the booklets. So that is all. That was a super quick look into the fraction operations escape, but I wanted to show you that one because well, they're all very similar. It doesn't require that much prep, and it's nothing that you need to be afraid of or worried about. Yes, the first time you use it, the first time you prep one, it's going to seem a little bit overwhelming, seem like it requires just a little bit more work than you thought, but it'll get easier with time. And then if you prep right, you can use these over and over again year after year. So you do not have to prep each time. And also what I would suggest doing with envelopes is put a little sticky note on the front. If you have notes to yourself, like after you used it, you need a little more time for this, a little less time for this, write notes to yourself and leave it on top of the envelope. So when you pull it out again, the note will be there and be a reminder of what you wanted to do differently next time. So that's all. I hope you enjoyed the look inside. If you have any questions at all, I'm always available by email, lindsayperot@gmail.com. Have a great day.